So I tell a little moment with myself. Um, and I started watching my adventures with Superman again. I'm kind of skipping through because I remember seeing the first season, but I don't remember. Well, I know how it ends. It ends with all the Loises and everything. Um, and then it leads into season two, where it's the rest of that, and then Kara, and then season three is Kara Supergirl, and then so on and so forth, right? But I'm kind of starting from the beginning, kind of sort of. I kind of skipped like halfway through to the Lois finding out Clark is Superman, and then I'm going from there pretty much. So I think episode five and then onward pretty much. But let me see. Hold on. No, six to 10, and then season two, and then so on and so forth. But it got me thinking, right? Um, and I think like the only essentially modern day open world game that essentially exists in a way, but like in all of its full capacity is GTA. GTA is essentially like an entire open world in modern day. Instead of like only parts of it, like Sleeping Dogs, or a lot of other games, basically. You know what I mean? It's like just fully, it's modern and it's open world. It's a city, but you have that kind of game, right? But you have technology and powers pretty much to think of like any powers you can think of. But let's go with like the first example, speed, right? Um, but you don't have just one power that where you have super speed for everything. You split up the speed amongst any and every feasible thing you could do that encapsulates speed. So walking faster, running faster, um, jogging faster, punching faster. Punching and kicking can go on the same power set. Um, Dodging faster, blocking faster. Um, what else? Um, Throwing faster. And then like even just like doing things faster, like let's say you have a pistol, right? Reloading would be a specific thing. Would be a separate thing. Reloading faster would be a separate thing. Um, Dismantling a weapon faster. Holstering and unholstering would be two separate. You could put them into one, but pretty much anything you can do normally, just tack on super speed to it, and it's a separate instance pretty much of that power. But um, and it would kind of add like this like hunting aspect to it, where if you have one aspect of the power, you can find other people that you have seen, be it NPCs or actual players, do those things at super speed, and you can then take their power pretty much. But you would have two ways to do it. You can either do it through technology, which takes time, meaning you have to find them, capture them, restrain them, and then like use technology to take away the power from them. It takes a little bit, but you can do it that way, or you can use and the only way I can really phrase it is you would have oh fuck, I said it earlier but I fucking forgot. Oh my god. uh but essentially you would either use technology or you would use well, now the only way I can think of phrasing it is like meta technology. But what I mean by that is essentially you don't need to directly interact with the body, like with meta technology specifically. You don't need to directly interact with the body to extract the power from them. It essentially it's almost as if the meta technology is attaching to the aura of the person rather than the actual person themselves and just taking it that way. You know what I mean? You know? But you could also have a limitation on it to where like the power like it can only attempt an extraction one time and it's destroyed, and if it attempts and is successful, then it contains the power, and then it can only inject it one time, or it's just or and it's destroyed, pretty much. Um, yeah, and then the powers would operate as viruses. So let's say you have like super speed running and another person super speed jogging, right? Um, uh, and and you see them use it. Or no, that fucked up the example. Well, yeah, yeah. So like, if someone else has super speed and you have super speed, then you can take their power and nothing would happen to you. But you can only have one type of power at a time, meaning you can't have super speed and super strength, or a type of super strength. But let's say you did try to get it, you would have to literally vomit or violently cough or violently sneeze, or essentially like the way you would get rid of a sickness. Well, the least grotesque ways you could think you could get rid of a sickness. Um, yeah, so I guess like the four ways you could do it is violently sneezing, or violently coughing, or just like really a real downpour of sweat, or vomiting. Um, you would have to essentially choose one to get rid of, you know, and I would it would be even more interesting if the one that you have the longest doesn't go, and automatically you kind of vomit out the new addition to your body, the new power to your body, pretty much. But let's say like it comes out at vomit, as vomit, right? And you're at a train track, right? You're at some trains, you're at a train station, and you vomit, because it operates as a virus of a sort, right? You vomit it out, you go about your day, and an NPC walks, not a player, but an NPC walks by and they step on that spot. Now the virus is attached to their shoe, and eventually it makes its way to their body, and then they're infected with it. Meaning like when they try to do something, um, that the power is associated with. Let's say it's walking faster, right? And they try and they walk, right, and they have a moment where they need to go faster. Their body essentially starts speed walking them. Starts super speed walking them to wherever they're trying to go. Um, and then with an NPC, you would have NPC logic that then makes them choose when and where to do it. They think of like if people are around, yada yada, right? You try to make them as lifelike as possible, pretty much. You know what I mean? To where they would kind of operate as if they're a player, or they would have the logic of like a person, pretty much. You try that at the most, right? Um, you know, but yeah, but you could essentially take power from an NPC or a player, basically. But you would also have things where, like, let's say, you just use regular technology to take powers. Um, oh, excuse me. You could do it by, like, let's say you take blood from a person with super strength, right? You take their blood, and another aspect to it is that every power would have an aspect of regeneration, an aspect of, like, they would have like a degree of regeneration to them, as in, like, if you extract like a lot of blood from them, they would slowly regenerate that blood, pretty much, um over time. You know what I mean? So like they wouldn't just, obviously, yes, our body is currently regenerate, but it would be faster for them. They have powers, except the power of regeneration, which it would still do the same thing, but it would be even more heightened. But even then, that regeneration would still have a degree. Like, so a way to put it is that every power had regeneration, but they would have like regeneration 100. But in terms of the actual aspects of the regeneration power, the normal regeneration, as in regeneration 100, that every other power has, the regeneration tree of powers, or yeah, the regeneration aspects, that the lowest, or like the lowest aspect of regeneration would be regeneration 100, meaning the highest form would be 1, or no, fuck it, the highest form would be 0, and that would be like essentially instantaneous regeneration. You know what I mean? As in like as in if a knife is going in you, as the knife is coming out, it's regenerating the wound pretty much. You know, so it's literally like it looks almost like magic basically. You know what I mean? So let's say like someone chops off your head, as the blade is going through your head and it leaves, like obviously like as it's going through, it's healing behind the blade pretty much. So once the blade's all the way through, it's essentially healed the entire thing, you know. But that's like the highest form of regeneration. You know what I mean? But but yeah, I think that covers all of. Oh yeah, so let's say like you extract blood with technology, right? You can then sell. And let's say like okay, you extract the blood and then you synthesize the actual power from the blood. Then you can sell that power as a consumable of some kind, maybe a pill, maybe a drink, you know. And depending on how potent it is, um, depending on how potent it is, the power lasts for however long. You know what I mean? For a person that consumes it, you know. And then I would still say the same logic applies, as in, or no, okay, no. I was going to say the same logic applies to like the you can't have multiple powers within your body, even if it's consumed. But I'd say no, no. Let's no. You can have multiple powers in your body if the first one is like a natural virus type. You have it within your like it's stored within your body's DNA, and the second one is a consumable temporary one, but the effect is lessened heavily. You know, like it's automatically decreased. It's automatically decreased like 75%. So let's say for someone without powers, the power with like super strength would last an hour. You know, like it's because it's that potent, right? For you, it would last. I said 75% in an hour. 30%, 30 minutes. So like 15 minutes, basically. You know, but that would be like a good way to um obfuscate. You know, that would be a way to kind of hide what your actual power is. You just take drugs, um, or yeah, you take the drugs to have super strength when you're doing something. You know what I mean? So people think you have super strength, but but in reality you don't. You know what I mean? And then you could even have like technology where like you have a scanner technology where uh, you have to do like you have to do it from a ranged point of view, or no, maybe you have like, or I don't know, but the example I just thought of in my head, or I can see in my head now, is you have like a ranged version, and you have to first set it to what power it's scanning for, and then you scan a person, and it tells you whether they have it or not within their DNA within their body, you know. Um, yeah, but then you could have like another version or like an attachment to that technology where you take a piece of their DNA and it scans their DNA to see what trace like the traces of power that's within the DNA. You know what I mean? But it's specifically taken like from that moment. So let's say if they don't have that power going through their system, then they don't. Then they it doesn't show up in that like follicle of hair, pretty much, right? You know. But but yeah, you know. Then with that, you would have to run through all the different possible powers, um, which would be a lot, you know. And you can't do it to where like it scans all of speed at one time. You have to go specifically each different thing. So it would take a lot of time, you know, meaning like people that do that would kind of operate in teams where you have one person going out getting DNA of suspected people, and then you have other people like in an office or in like a lab or a bunker somewhere going through the different powers and checking to see if the person if their follicles match. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, uh, yeah, I think that would be an interesting, very, very, very interesting game. Yeah, but you would essentially have like a hunting aspect to where like one person or like a bunch of people would try to go around and like take all of their associated powers. Like you would have some people trying to go around and capture all the different uh, speed parts. Speed powers. One person trying to go around and capture all the strength powers, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And then I would say like let's say you have like five different speed powers. Because you can have all of them at once, then they all form into one cohesive power. Meaning now, let's say there's a total of like 1,000 speed powers, because of all the different possible things you can use super speed for. Now there's only 956, because because now there's 955 individual ones, and then you have the cohesive clump of five different powers wrapped into one, pretty much. You know what I mean? You know, so yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's it. That's the entire idea. So basically, GTA with powers that operate as viruses, where you can use technology, um, to either turn the powers into synthesized drugs for people to use temporarily, or extract the powers themselves from people from players or NPCs. Um, yeah, yeah. Other than that, it would essentially operate like a GTA type thing. I'd say even more so, just like amped up because of powers. So GTA, where you have robbery and crime and shit, but you have people with powers, so it'd be even more so. It would be even more crazy, you know. Um, yeah, and personally, I think GTA 6 they're gonna take the it's gonna be more than just like doing crimes, but you I would say you could even become a cop and stop crimes, or not stop crimes, but you could well yeah, you could respond to crime, try to capture people, um or turn them in for a cash reward or whatever. Or even you could even do a thing where you have where and I'm thinking like, oh, they could have like a detective job in it, but I don't even know how that would work unless it's purely for NPCs. Or you could have different jobs within the police force. Where you have ones that specifically respond to crimes or that stop crimes in progress. Um, you could have a bounty hunter unit, and then you could have a drug busting unit, and then you could have like a criminal organization busting unit, pretty much. Um, yeah, yeah. Because I think that's what it would end up being. It would essentially be like you're going around committing crimes, or you're part of the what's it called? I forget. I keep thinking Los Santos, but not Los Santos. Whatever the new city is called, that police department, and you're stopping crimes, or you're stopping drug deals, or you're busting drug hideouts, or you're raiding offices, or you're raiding different players or NPCs or whatever the fuck. Um, you know, and then yeah, or you could even be a dirty cop, where you operate as a cop, but you also work with criminals, and you're constantly trying to not let other cops know, while also getting the most money you can out of being part of the criminal organizations too. You know, um, I think that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, whoever you are.